I recently made a YouTube video that got 1,000 times the YouTube views for one of my clients, and I did it through my research strategy. But most business owners I personally speak with are making one of these three mistakes. Number one, they're not doing YouTube research or using outliers at all. Number two, they're just copying what they see the biggest players in the space are doing. Or number three, they're actually doing YouTube research and using outliers, but they're simply doing it the wrong way. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do YouTube research the right way by using parallel niches and also outliers. And I'll even give you some of the assets that my clients pay me thousands of dollars for. So first, why do you actually need to do YouTube research? So the thing is, you can either try to be original, really creative with your ideas and come up with all your ideas yourself, and then you'll likely not make really any money or grow your business from your channel. Or you can just leverage what is already proven to work and then actually scale your business with YouTube. And the thing is, if you haven't already blown up or gotten really a lot of success on YouTube, then your only option is really to look at other people, because you don't have the data for yourself. And that's actually not a problem at all. I hear a lot of people that think that's a problem. It's not. And I'm going to give you a stat that actually really proves this to you, because on YouTube there are currently over 20 billion videos, and every single day 20 million videos are posted. So this means that there's just incredible amounts of data you can actually look at. And on the other flip side, of course, it's also really important that you then pick the right and relevant data for you, because there's just so many videos on YouTube. And the way you can then do YouTube research the right way is through 4 steps. The first one is find your parallel niches. I'll explain what this is in a bit. Use outliers, then pick the right outlier, and then also apply the winning frameworks correctly. And first off, you may already know what an outlier is. It's basically that every single YouTube video has what is called an outlier score, which just measured how that specific video has performed compared to that channel's average video views. And when I then say an outlier, it's basically just a video with a high outlier score. So that's often a 3 times better performance or more. And the reason that it's actually really good to use is that a few years ago, when people wanted to do research for YouTube, they'd basically just go in and look at all the biggest players in the space, like Mr. Beast and all these big Alex Hormozi, all these big business gurus. And the problem with this approach was that it's often that these bigger channels, the reason that the videos perform is not because the video is really amazing. It's more so that they already have an existing audience, and then that audience finds that specific topic interesting. And then when people started using outliers, you could then start looking at smaller channels that didn't really have a high amount of subscribers. So you could actually isolate the video in some sense. And that basically meant that if you found an outlier on a channel with a low subscriber count, then you knew that the performance of the video was actually because of the video itself, like the packaging, the thumbnail, title, the hook, and the value and structure of the video, instead of the fact that they already have an audience. And then what parallel niches are is that in your niche, of course, your audience has specific pain points, desires, things they want to do, and ways that the psychology works. And then parallel niches is basically finding other niches that have the same psychological demographic. So again, the same pain points, desires, and the psychology work pretty much the same way. And the reason it's really good to use parallel niches is because if you just, which I've seen a lot of people do, and I've had clients that do this, is that they'll go into their own niche and then they'll just copy what they see is working in the niche. And the thing is, if you do this, then you're just going to be second best at most, and you're also just going to look a bit like a copycat, which of course is really a bad thing to look like to your audience. But when you actually use parallel niches, then you can make sure that you don't just copy your niche, but it still works for your audience. Because the other mistake a lot of people also make is just they'll find an outlier which is not related to their audience at all. Like they'll go into the entertainment niche and copy an outlier from there, or maybe like someone targeting newer people to business when their own audience is more high level business people, which then the outlier won't work because the videos are targeting 2 different audiences. And the way you can actually find your parallel niches is again asking and really understanding your own audience first. You need to understand what the pain points are, the desires, the fears, and just how they psychologically work. And if you, just to give you kind of an example here, if your niche is I help agencies doing 20 to 50k a month scale, then some of their pain points could be that they're stuck at current revenue level, they can't break through, they're working 60 hours plus a week, they have no time freedom, inconsistent lead flow. Then the desires could be that they want to scale past 100k a month, and they actually want to have the freedom to step back from the day-to-day and just have a consistent lead flow so they don't feel as much uncertainty. And of course, you can really go more in depth, but I just want to give you a quick example. And then after you've understood your own niche, then you can start looking for other niches that have either the same audience but they're talking about a different topic, or they have a different audience but that audience still has the same psychological demographic as your own niche and your own audience. So for this example I just gave, a parallel niche could be someone that helps coaches scale, coaches doing 20 to 50k a month, because as you can see they have pretty much the same pain points. They're stuck at revenue level, they're working 60 plus hours a week, no time freedom, and they want to go past 100k a month, have the freedom to actually live their life and just consistently flow. Those are things that both agencies doing 20 to 50k a month and coaches doing 20 to 50k a month both have in common. So they're extremely similar in their psychology, and that's why you can use this as your parallel niche. And when you've actually understood this concept, then you of course need to actually find your parallel niches. And the way you can do this is, of course, you can try to do it yourself by sitting here and thinking about it, being creative. But if you actually want to take the fast way, then you can just use my prompt, which you can get in the first link in the description. And I'm going to show you exactly how it works. So you'll just, if you get the prompt in the first link in the description, then you just copy it and then you go to whatever AI you like. So I want to try with two different AIs here, and for this example, let's just say that you help coaches doing 20 to 50k a month, and then you just run this prompt, have it on the research feature inside your AI. You can also, I use both Perplexity and Claude for this example. And now I'm just going to give it a bit of time to actually give the output. So now it's finished. It actually took quite a bit of time, over 6 minutes. But now the output, as you can see, is quite good. Like, it's given the audience psychology foundation, just explained kind of how they works, the pain point, all this stuff. And then it also has given me those 4 parallel niches. And the first one is marketing agencies doing 20 to 50k a month. I think that's actually a really good one, so I'll definitely keep that. Then it's also high ticket sales training, because they have the same audience. Again, I think it's quite good. Real estate investors, it's pretty good, but I probably wouldn't use that. And then the broader niche is then online business and just entrepreneurship in general. And Perplexity again also gave pretty solid output. And when you've got these parallel niches, then of course they're not really useful until you actually find specific individuals within those parallel niches. And that's where all the content research you will be doing will actually come from. So the way to do this is to search within those parallel niches to find specific people within that. So let's say that the parallel niche is someone that helps coaches scale to 100k a month. Then what you could search for could be how to scale your coaching business to 100k a month. And it's important that you both find the big players in that space, so the top guys, the top authorities, and then also smaller players that still produce good content, has a good content team, because then they'll get outlier videos. And these are the most important guys to get. And again, you can do this yourself, come up with the search terms based on, okay, so what would high ticket sales coaches talk about? What would marketing agencies talk about? Like, what would that niche talk about? Or you can just, again, use my prompt, which you can get in the first link in the description. And then what you do is that you copy paste it. And then after you've made these 4 parallel niches, then you just put in this prompt, and then it's basically going to again take some time, but then it's going to come up with different search terms which you can put into YouTube to find those specific individuals. So for example, for agencies, you can search for how to grow a marketing agency, or you can say stock at 20k per month, or how to systematize your agency. Like, it'll give you a lot of different things you can search for all these parallel niches. And then if you want to organize it and really keep track of it, then you can again use my Notion page. This is actually the one I use for my clients. And then you can input the specific competitors that you actually find. And again, I'll just do a few to find a few for you live. So for example, for the first one that was about agency owners, you'll basically just take one of these search terms. You'll go to YouTube.
You do not need to be liked by everybody. You need to choose your...
And then when you'll find all these different agency owners, like this guy. He's one of the big players in the space. You can see already 2 of his videos. We can potentially take this guy right here, this guy, and just take like different people within that niche. Of course, this is like, I'm getting quite a lot of the big players in the space, but you can also use some of these ones to get some more niche. Then when you found these specific individuals within that parallel niche, then you need to organize them and make a list. You can either do this in a Google Doc, whatever you use, but if you want to use my Notion template, then you can get it first, link in the description. And you basically just, for this one, you put in their name. So you put in their name at the top right here. Then you select the niche, and then you change these to your parallel niche. So this one was scaling agencies. And then you can just give a few notes about them, like this guy has a lot of outliers, or this guy is really good for these things. Just something so you can kind of remember it. And then you also just give a link to their channel so you can always track it. And the reason that we actually want to organize it like this is because the next step is finding the outliers. So the videos on those specific individuals' channels that perform particularly well compared to the average video. And the way you do this is that you get the software 1 of 10. There are also other ones like vidIQ and a bunch of other, but I just prefer 1 of 10 because I think personally it's the best. And then you go into 1 of 10, and then you can create a folder right here. So you could say we're just going to call this test. And then what you can do, which is really, really great, is that you can, when you found these different people here which fit inside your parallel niches, then you can just input them into this 1 of 10 folder right here, and then you can track their channel. So I'll just do it with all these guys so you can see how it looks. So now I've just input a few different of the guys within that scaling agency niche. Of course, you do this with every single one of those 4 parallel niches that the prompt I've given you has actually created for you. So you should have over like 30 to 40 channels that you're tracking within this folder. And what you can then do is that you can click on filters, then you can set the outlier score that it needs to be, let's say, over a 6. And then you only get the videos that perform 6 times better than the YouTube video on their channel. And the thing is, all these people are within your parallel niches, so all these outliers are perfect to actually use for your own content. And then what you can also do, if you'd like, when you've then found these outliers, is that you can also input it into this Notion database. You just click new outlier here, and then you put all the info in here. But now the most important part is, of course, to pick the right outlier, because as I said, there are over 20 billion videos, and even though we've already narrowed it down a lot by creating these parallel niches, there's still a lot of different videos, and you need to pick the right outliers, because if you don't, then it's simply not going to work. So I made it really simple for you and just giving you a simple checklist right here. And every single outlier you should ask yourself, does it have an outlier score of over 3? Then it's good to go. Can I use this framework and still provide a lot of value? And when I say framework, I'm talking about the overall video structure, the overall video topic, the title, the thumbnail, and this video performed for an audience similar to mine, and this of course would be the case if you follow this process. Now, outliers to avoid is outliers that has where the performance came from past trends or hype. So if there was some controversy around a specific person or a specific business model that was trending, then the reason that outlier performed wasn't because of the packaging, it wasn't because of the title, the thumbnail, or the hook, or the video structure. Instead, it was because it talked about a past trend. Then you don't want to use that outlier, because then it's not going to work, of course. And then the second thing is that is the performance reason something I can't replicate? Because if you can't replicate the reason a video performed, then you shouldn't copy it. For example, I've seen a lot of guys where they'll find a video which is like how I built a $100 million agency, and then they'll copy it with their own, where it's like how I built a 10K agency. But the thing is, the reason why that other video was actually performed really well was because the number was so impressive. So you can't just copy it. Then you would switch it out with another really impressive result. Now, the last thing is how you actually apply the outlier frameworks, because honestly, most people just apply them the wrong way, because what they do is basically they'll look at the title, maybe the thumbnail, and then they'll just think it's some kind of magical sequence of words or like some magical thumbnail concept that'll just make them go viral. But of course, that's not how it works, because YouTube is not a code, it's not an algorithm, it's actually real people that are watching these videos and human psychology. And that's why your video won't perform well if you just straight copy the title and the thumbnail, because you actually need to understand the reason why it performed and the psychology behind why it performed, and not just copy the sequence of words and think it'll blow up. Like a lot of guys, you're probably familiar with William Brown, and a lot of guys just copied straight his title. Like you can see, I've given some examples right here, and as you can see, it didn't work for them. So why didn't it work for them when it actually worked for William Brown? And the reason for this is because they just copied the title. They didn't really understand why it actually performed further beyond just the title. Because when William Brown actually posted this video, 10K a month was basically this magical number that every single new entrepreneurs wanted to hit. And people were also really tired of like flashy editing, high quality production, so they wanted something raw. But William, of course, is an amazing marketer. He really understood this shift that was happening, and he just went the complete opposite direction with no editing, raw thumbnails, and no capitalization in the title, and without any scripting. And that's why it actually performed this video. It's not because he just created this title. Like, there's so much more behind why it actually performed than just the title, and that's why these guys' videos here didn't perform. So how should you actually do it? And the first thing is that you should understand why and what actually makes your brand unique and you unique, and then also how you provide and how you can really provide a lot of value. And I think these two things are actually the most important thing in content and YouTube. So I'll definitely make a video on it in future, so remember to subscribe. And when you've found out how you're unique, how your brand is unique, and how you can provide value, then what you basically do with this outlier you found is that you look at the packaging, the hook, and the content style. And the packaging just means the title and the thumbnail. And then you can copy the overall winning framework, so you really understand why it actually performed, and then personalize it to your brand style and how you're unique. So just a quick checklist you can use when you actually apply these outliers. First, you need to figure out how you can provide value to your audience and your unique positioning. Then you need to pick an outlier from one of your parallel niches. Then you need to understand what actually made that outlier video perform instead of just straight copying the title. Then you look at the thumbnail, you look at the title, the hook, and the content style for that outlier. You understand why it actually worked, and then you copy the winning frameworks from that outlier and then add your unique positioning. So that's exactly how you can do YouTube research the right way, how I do it for all of my clients. And again, if you want all the prompts, the Notion dashboard, and everything else is shown in this video, then you can get it in the first link in the description. If you want to work with me and my team, then there'll also be a link where you can book a call, where we'll just have a really chill conversation if a partnership might make sense.